Welcome to the For Love and Money podcast, the show where business and social purpose meet to inspire a movement for positive change. Here's your host, Carolyn Butler-Madden.
Dr. Kyle Turner is my guest on this episode of the For Love and Money podcast. Kyle is a Wiradjuri man. I hope I pronounced that properly. He previously held research and teaching posts at the University of Oxford and University of Melbourne. As an epidemiologist, Kyle has published widely on the burden of chronic disease with a heavy focus on the prevention of disease. His passion? Improving health outcomes for First Nations people and other disadvantaged groups. He is the founder of Pearlii, an investor-backed, purpose-led dental company on a mission to improve oral health around the globe. Today, Kyle's going to share Pearlii's story, including how he, as an epidemiologist, came to start a dental company. Kyle, welcome to the For Love and Money podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Karen.
So let's kick off with the question about purpose in business. I want to ask you if you think love has a role to play at all.
You did prep me with this question, and I've been thinking about it for about 24 hours. Geez, first you've got to define what is love. Is that caring? How deep do you get with that? I don't know. It's a great question. It's a fun question. I do want to say something cliche. Love what you do, I guess. I really do love my work. I don't think I would love it if it wasn't a full-purpose venture. Maybe we're getting somewhere now. Maybe we can come back to this question.
I think it would be brilliant to continue and then come back and thanks for your honesty on this, and I really appreciate it because it makes some people very uncomfortable. So I've had some guests on this program who go, "Oh my God, love is everything. Love for my son who, is going to inherit, our actions." And then I get people who go, "Oh, really not sure about it." And that is the purpose of this podcast, because love does not traditionally sit within business in most people's minds. Mm-hmm. And yet I want to explore the role of love in business, because I believe it is a missing part of what makes business human. And, when we love what we're doing, when we're doing what we love even more, because we care, you talked about, is it about care? Is it about love of humanity, other people? Is it about love of our planet? Is it about, just caring about people? And that's the part I want to explore, and there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a sort of exploration. So thank you for your honesty about that. I really appreciate it.
No worries. It's a strong opening question. It'll be the arc for the entire podcast, I think. We'll keep coming back to it.
And money, right? It's not just love, but money has always been a big part of business, the driving force of business. And so it's really looking at the two together and the balance between the two.
Could you give me, and I know we talk a bit about Pearlii in a minute, but can you give me an example of one of your favorite answers you've ever got?
One of my favorites is from Simon Sheikh, who's the co-founder of Future Super. He's also an activist, previous director of Get Up.
Yeah, I know.
And so his response to the question was, love has everything to do with business. Love has inspired me to start Future Super. My love for my son, who I can't remember the date he said, I think he said by 2040, my son will be my age now. And I know that what I do matters because he's going to inherit those actions. Love for my fellow brothers and sisters around the world. And he riffed about it beautifully. But it wasn't just about riffing about it. It was genuine, and that was one of my favorite answers. The other one was I interviewed an American, Dave Dahl of Dave's Killer Bread, which is the biggest organic bread company in the US and started off as a small Portland family business.
Yep.
And he's an ex-con. been in the prison system many, many years, and he came out and he was given a second chance by his brother to join the family business, and his second chance became a new brand and the brand story about giving second chances to people coming out of the criminal system and
Brilliant.
supporting those people. When I asked him that question, he got really uncomfortable. And he was like, "Whoa, no, I don't, oh, love." And then the arc of the interview, he just started, he started talking about love freely. And in the end, I was like, gotcha.
Okay, I've been warned.
But there's no, but the truth is, it's let's see where it nets out, and let's explore it.
Okay, great. I think I could relate more to your second example. And just linking it with business it's a novel idea for me.
Brilliant. Novel is good. So tell us about Pearlii. Why did you start it, and how did you, as an epidemiologist, come to start a dental company?
Well, I studied diseases for a living.
Yeah.
And I've worked with kids around oral health, and I knew it was a big public health problem. I think most listeners, whether they're in the US or they're here in Australia, are aware that dental is very expensive. A lot of people can't afford or access the dentist, and that pisses me off. I grew up in a remote part of Australia, in central New South Wales. We were very, very poor. We lived in community housing, and we moved around a lot, and just dental was non-existent for us. And now I've got shocking teeth. I've had extractions, fillings, you name it. I'm going to have a lot of problems later in life, and it's fully preventable. It's really easily prevented with just basic oral health education, regular checkups. So I knew that it was a personal problem, because it really affects your confidence when you've got bad teeth.
Yeah.
Like if you go on a date, a job interview, you don't want to smile as much. That's a shit feeling. And it's fully preventable, and it just really pissed me off. So it was a problem I really wanted to work on. This is my second startup. I did one in the UK. I did my PhD at Oxford University, and that was an epic fail. I lost all the investors' money, but I learned a lot. And,
what was that startup?
My PhD was in obesity prevention in kids, and
yeah,
I saw Deliveroo just came about. There was no Uber Eats, no Menulog, and it was just Deliveroo. And they were partnering with McDonald's and Pizza Hut, and that just pissed me off. So it's going to make it a lot easier to get junk food to your doorstep. So I did a healthy version of Deliveroo with all the calories.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, we raised 100K. We launched an app. We did deliveries every night for 6 months. But I made a lot of mistakes, and it turns out people just want pizza fast.
Yep.
So we had customers, but it was, ran out of capital, and
maybe a little bit before your time, before its time.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few popping up now, actually, like 6 years later.
Yeah.
Anyway, moved to Melbourne, teaching at University of Melbourne in 2018, and I wanted to do another one. And I wanted to find a big, juicy problem, and oral health is a big public health issue. I went through an accelerator program at Oxford, and one of the other startups was doing computer vision.
Mm-hmm.
So you teach an algorithm to detect things in a photo or in a video, and I learned how to do that. So I knew, speaking to a couple of dentists, that a lot of what they do is a visual examination. They look in your mouth. And I thought, I could teach an algorithm to do that, and bring free dental checkups, free oral health education to the world through an app. And that's what we did. That's the Pearlii app. It's free dental checkups. That's what it is.
Fantastic. And so free dental checkups, I mean, you're delivering on a need, which is oral health, obviously, and the lack of access to it, which you talked about before. But then how do you turn that into a business?
Good question. Well, COVID didn't help this business model, so I had to pivot. But originally it was, we onboarded about 3,500 dentists around Australia. And at the end of your free checkup, if you found any issues, you could look at your local geographic area for all the dentists in the area, and you could have a live booking through the app. And we got a commission from the dentist every time we referred a new patient to them. However, we launched it in April 2020. So all the dentists closed for about 18, 24 months. So that business model.
At which point you put your head in your hands and went, "Oh no!"
Yeah, that wasn't much fun. But we had really good investors that really believed in our technology and what we're trying to do, and they saw it's a big market opportunity. There's other ways to make that money. So we pivoted. So we've actually released our own oral care products that are all sustainably designed, recyclable. And so that's one revenue stream. We've also been building some software for a few dental companies to bridge that gap during COVID. And we raised another round of investment. So we're quite healthy financially at the moment. But it was a real struggle during COVID.
Yeah, I can imagine it would have been. And I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about your investors, or how you attracted your investors, more to the point. So any listeners here who are thinking of doing a startup, what's been that journey?
So I now I'm a judge on lots of startup comps, and I try and mentor younger entrepreneurs and try and help them because I've got amazing mentors. But I met them by networking. So you go to all the startup events.
Yep.
Then you start making friends at these events. They make introductions. It took about a year of going 3 or 4 nights a week to any events because I was new to Melbourne, and just kept at it. And then eventually I refined my pitch by introducing myself and my startup to so many people. You get a lot better at finding the buzzwords. So you study people's reaction, like watch their face when you do the pitch and see which words break through, and then you just get better at it. So I remember the first startup comp I did in Melbourne, I completely bombed. I would have come last place, and over the year I started coming like third, second, and then we started winning a few, and investors would come out.
So these networking events were all they were specifically about startup investment.
Mostly, there's a really good startup community in Melbourne. There's a launch week. There's plenty of events to get along to. Look, a lot of them are a waste of time, but you just got to go.
You got to kiss a few frogs on the way, right?
Yeah, you just got to keep going. I was pretty keen to get this going, so you just got to put the hours in.
Yeah, brilliant. And so tell me about the business now. So you launched was it 2019?
December 2019 is when we incorporated the company, but 2019 was that hustle year. Had the idea at the end of 2018. So there was 12 months of treading water.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge was finding dental images. No one wants to let you photograph their teeth.
Really?
You need dental images to build the algorithm.
Yeah.
And then you need capital to pay dentists, which are extremely expensive, to sit down and label each dental image. And then you can feed it to the algorithm. And that's how it learns. So
you did all of that in the course of 1 year?
Yeah, well, we've been continuously working on that for 3 years. So we're still working on it all the time.
Yeah.
But you needed a prototype to show the investors. And we had a really shitty prototype, like about 300 photos. Sorry, I swear like a trooper. I don't know.
It's all good.
Yeah, so we needed a prototype. So I managed to get only about 300 dental images, which is very, very low for an algorithm. And then I got a friend of a friend who's a dentist to label each tooth in the image digitally. And you're like, is that tooth decay? And then you got this crappy algorithm we put into a crappy app. And we showed some investors, and we finally found one that was like, this is great. And we raised 200K pre-seed capital in February 2020.
Yeah.
And then finally I could hire someone, and we were away from there.
Yeah, fantastic. February 2020, just before the world went pear-shaped. As the world was starting to go pear-shaped.
Extremely lucky to get that capital in at that time, because it wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise.
Yeah, Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your investors. You don't need to tell me who they are, but I'm interested in their mindset, their narrative, what attracted them. Like, did they look at this? Obviously, they saw it as a profitable opportunity. Otherwise, they wouldn't invest. But was that all? Was there anything else? Like,
I've been pretty lucky. Uh, they've all invested in social enterprises in the past. I won't name names, but one of them had a chance years ago, apparently, to invest in Who Gives a Crap, to back those guys in past. So we donate 50% of our profits. I think you're going to see a lot more businesses doing things like that. They're all on board with the mission to improve oral health. They never wanted to charge people for the dental checkups. They knew the tech was strong, so there were other ways to make money. No, it was never an easy sell. They give me a lot of freedom.
and it's a really interesting model, I think, because another guest on the show, a recent guest on the show, was Mike Smith, founder of ZeroCo, and their mission is to ditch single-use plastic.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and he talked about them being a Mission 2.0 company where their mission is baked into their product, rather than the after effect, which is you buy this and then we'll give money. And I know you've talked about your 50% as part of it, but to me, your mission is also baked in to your business, because you actually start with the free dental.
Well, it's half. So there's two sides of the coin in public health. There's the prevention side, which we tick that box with the Pearlii app.
Yeah.
So free dental checkups, free oral health education. Great.
Yep.
The treatment is the other side of disease.
Yes.
And we weren't fulfilling our mission our mission is to improve oral health. So we needed to, there was always a missing piece. So I told our investors, can we donate 50% of the profits? We want to build our own dental trucks, which will provide free dental care. I've got a long list of dentists that are willing to volunteer, but the trucks are quite expensive, about $350K a pop. So we're currently saving up, and it's going to be a separate organization, the Pearlii Foundation, separate bank accounts, everything.
Yep.
But I'm currently setting that up. 50% of profits will be funneled to the Pearlii Foundation, but we can also accept donations. So I've got a few philanthropic organizations that are going to help get that going. But so it wasn't quite baked into our mission, because we were missing one side of the coin.
So the prevention was baked in, and then the 50% of your sales to Pearlii Foundation takes care of the treatment part.
Yeah, we were big fans of the Who Gives a Crap guys, so we thought, let's just do that. That came later. That was an evolution as we, over the last few years.
And there, right there, that goes to the mission of your business, which is to improve oral hygiene. And you've been very clear about that from the start. So you've built your business around that, starting with the prevention, but then looking at what else it was lacking.
Yeah, no, it's still trying to solve the same problem. That hasn't changed.
And this is what I love about purpose-led businesses, is that that you're prepared to disrupt existing models. Dental care via an app. Yeah. Does it exist anywhere else?
There's one other one that's we're much further ahead than them, but I don't mind if there's competition, as long as they're not charging people.
Yeah.
We're going to be using our tech to help non-dental practitioners, such as GPs and nurses, as part of general health checks. Right now, they don't look in their mouth at all.
Yeah.
It's a big missed opportunity. People don't go to the dentist. 2/3 of the population of Australia haven't been to the dentist in the last 2 years.
Right.
It's very expensive. A lot of people live in rural and remote areas. A lot of people have dental anxiety, so they don't go. So speaking to dentists, they said, build something for non-dental practitioners so they can check the oral health. So we're pretty excited about it. And 50% of profits from that licensing, or however we monetize it, will be still going to the Pearlii Foundation. But that's something that's come about over the journey. We've realized by learning from dentists that, hey, there's a huge gap beyond dentists that they can't reach, that we could potentially help with.
That's really interesting, and so I've heard that my understanding is that dental health has serious impacts on general health.
Huge. It all starts in the mouth. That's sort of our
It does, doesn't it?
slogan. It does, yeah. And there's a lot of frustrated dentists out there that the industry is so heavily privatized. And it's not just in Australia. There's only 12 countries in the world that dental is included in their public health
Wow.
their system. It's just, for some reason, the mouth is just not part of the body.
How did we ever get to that point?
It's very political. Get a dentist on the show. It's actually an incredible story. A few backdoor deals back in the 80s.
Yeah.
But look, they were running businesses, a lot of independent dentists. They don't want to work private. Dentists in Australia work in the private system because the money's so good.
Yeah.
It's just there's no incentive to work in the public system.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've probably shouldn't say too much, but I'm a bit frustrated with some dentists out there that overtreat, they overcharge, that are just running businesses at the end of the day, but they're actually healthcare providers. So there's a huge conflict of interest there. Yeah, so my North Star for the technology is getting the Pearlii app listed on the MBS, the Medical Benefits Scheme. So it would be free dental checkups led by GPs, nurses, working in aged care, schools, anywhere where you can't afford dentists because it's too expensive at the moment. But it's subsidised by the government. So right now, there's no incentive for GPs and nurses to look in the mouth.
Yeah.
But if we could help them, give the financial incentive through the MBS, they can use our tech. We think would fill a huge gap in public health.
That's amazing. That's an incredible North Star, and the impact of that. It just sounds like a yawning gap in healthcare, and the opportunity is huge.
Yeah, tech has only recently come about, so that's going to take a while. That's sort of what I'm really focused on at the moment. The business itself, I've got 19 staff who are wonderful. It's sort of running itself now, and this is something I've been wanting to work on for a while. So that's got most of my attention at the moment. That's
exciting. I'll be keen to follow your progress on that and see how you go. And I'm sure you're going to attract a lot of collaborators who would like to help you get there.
So many wonderful dentists out there. They get a hard rap, dentists, but a lot of them do volunteer. They go overseas. They spend their holidays just helping people in developing countries. But there's a lot of need here with homeless, refugees, First Nation communities that don't have access or can't afford the dentist here. So, and they want to do work locally as well.
Yeah.
So we just got to build those trucks. That's
So truck number 1 is not there yet, but
we'll get there. We've got a lot of other things going on at the moment. Like we're quite busy building a lot of software right now for a few dental companies.
Yeah.
So yeah, the backlog for the rest of the year is pretty hectic. I'm trying to get it set up in the background. But 2023, we're really confident we'll have our first truck.
Fantastic. Well, that's only around the corner, so
a lot to do.
And the first one is always the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Once we get that first one, I think it'd be great for our brand. People see it in action. So
yeah.
I think it should scale a lot faster after that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Enjoying the podcast? If you're looking for more inspiration, head to our website, thecauseeffects.com.au, for more resources on how you can start using your business as a force for good. Or buy the For Love and Money book. Every copy sold allows us to protect 1 square metre of rainforest. Help us save 10,000 square metres by 2025.
So Carl, tell me about your customers. Can you share with us how many customers you've got?
We've got 20,000 downloads
Fantastic.
That's all organic. We haven't done any paid advertising. So
Wow.
yeah, in 1 year. So there's a huge need. A lot of people aren't going to the dentist, and you could do this at home or in your office. It's just great. We've had people message us going, I had no idea. They had really great teeth. There's this one woman, wonderful teeth, beautiful smile, but her gums were extremely inflamed, and the gums are actually more important than your teeth.
Yes.
And we picked up the gum redness. And so she went into the dentist, and the dentist was like, whoa. And now she got treatment, which she otherwise just hadn't been to the dentist in years. Otherwise, she would have completely been oblivious to. So that was one of my favorite stories. And now we're only just started selling our oral care products last month. So
right, okay.
that's very new. There's it's 6 months of prototypes, testing, whole team brushing teeth at lunchtime. It was pretty fun, but we were very picky on the products. So like bamboo toothbrush. We got a whitening toothpaste that's got a recyclable tube. I know that doesn't sound that impressive, but it is very hard to get a toothpaste tube that is recyclable. So things like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I won't keep going on. It's probably a bit boring for you.
No, it's not boring at all. And I've just downloaded your app, and I'm looking forward to testing it. And it looks really simple. And I've looked at your online store, and it's really interesting, particularly with the tooth whitening and the bamboo range and the sustainability, because to me it's clearly going to target more socially conscious-minded younger people. Not to say that older people aren't, but that they are actively looking for solutions like this, and teeth whitening as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, the teeth whitening is quite popular. That's probably our bestseller.
Yeah, I can imagine that's going to go gangbusters.
It's going well, but it's still your smile at the end of the day. You want it to look as best it can. So the whitening products do very well. And the mission is really breaking through. When we get reviews on our products, they always mention, I love what they're trying to do. People can really understand that we're trying to fix dental. I think most people are aware that it's got a lot of problems.
So you just did mention the L word there.
I thought I've been getting away with it here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to state the obvious, but you seem to be on a mission to give people, who don't have access, some who are in remote areas, but vulnerable communities who don't have access to dental care. Where does that come from? You might call it a place of care. I might dial that up a bit and say, is that simply love of your fellow human?
I haven't phrased it like that, but sure, why not?
I won't force you into it.
No, it's I don't know if it does come from love, to be honest. It comes from just my personal experience, having shit teeth.
Yeah.
I don't want any other kid to grow up with bad teeth when it is really easily prevented. It sucks. So that's frustration rather it comes from.
Frustration, care. I think care is a big part of it as well. And again, I know in the interview I did with Mike Smith at ZeroCo, he talked about anger really fueling him, when he saw all the plastic rubbish.
I might meet this guy. It sounds great. I do love their website. We've stolen a few branding ideas from their website. It's beautiful.
Yeah, brilliant.
But I think I can relate a bit more to his story and his motivation.
Yeah. But then talk to me about, are there any brands or, businesses that you just outright love?
Who gives a crap? Love those guys. And it's not there's no technology in there that's got cutting edge research behind it, or it's just recycled toilet paper.
So what do you love about it? What do you love about it?
I'm just blown away. It has taken them about 11 years. People think that they were an overnight success, but no. They didn't make any donations, I think, in their first year. But I just love that there's no fancy technology behind it. It's just recycled toilet paper, but they've managed to build this behemoth. They've raised recently $44 million investment from one round. So what's that put their valuation at? $250 million.
Yeah, incredible.
So I'm inspired by that. It was just the mission. That's the only thing unique about them. And I saw how many people were getting behind it, obviously. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So I just copied them shamelessly.
Fantastic. And I think we need more businesses copying, businesses like Who Gives a Crap and Pearlii and, the many others that are coming up.
I think you'll see more coming through. And I think you'll see more investors not being put off by the profit sharing model.
Yeah.
And that's, again, thanks to Who Gives a Crap. No one has raised so much venture capital with a model like theirs. So they've been real trailblazers, and it gives us a lot of confidence that we'll be able to raise our Series A round eventually, sticking to this model.
Yeah.
Because we can lean on them and go, hey, these guys are doing it. And they don't even have any tech. It's just recycled toilet paper. I don't know how they've done it.
Well, they're attracting people who, like you, love what they do.
Yeah, they've got a lot of love in their business. You can feel it. So
yeah.
Anyway, big fans. I'll stop talking about another business on your podcast. So.
Yeah, let's talk about Pearlii. So, what are some of the learnings? Actually, no. Before I ask you that, I want to ask you about your thoughts on the balance between profit and purpose. I mean, you're a mission-led company. You're clearly driven by that mission to improve oral hygiene.
I'm getting better at focusing on the profits. I'm not naturally a salesman or focused on profits. The board and the investors have been really good at pushing me. Now that we're sharing 50% of our profits, profitability is really important to me now. I want to build those trucks. Yeah, no, it's never been a big focus. I just wanted to build the tech, and we've been always about the mission. Truthfully, there's a few things I wanted to say about that, and I was just starting on the previous question. You're going to see more and more for-purpose businesses. Reason being is because customers are demanding it. We don't have to rely on government so much, because I think corporates are actually going to lead the way. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, and that's the main theme behind my book and this podcast, is the need for businesses to think about more than just profits and think about how they use.
They have to, because customers are going to be demanding it.
And not just customers, employees, and not just employees and customers, investors.
Yep, exactly. That way, I don't really care what the government's doing, because if the private sector is driving this, I know government will catch up eventually.
Absolutely. And, I think all of these institutions are going to have to start collaborating a whole lot more. But the opportunity is without doubt for business, because it's not just about it is about expectations. People expect business to, use they are in the best position to actually create impact. They've got the resources, they've got the people, they've got the innovation capability, they've got the money.
Yep, I completely agree. That's why I'm doing startups. I tried academia. I thought before that I worked in government as an epidemiologist for a couple of years. I thought I'm going to make, a big impact. I'm working in a hospital. Oh, gosh, it was frustrating. There's so much red tape, the pace. Government, let's be honest, got a long tail. The people at the top are brilliant. I've got a lot of friends that are at director roles in government, and they're brilliant. But geez, there's a lot of dead weight in government. And then I thought, okay, I'll go do a PhD to Oxford. It was very exciting. I'm going to have a really big impact. It is almost exactly the same. People are brilliant at the top, but really long tail, a lot of dead weight in academia.
Yeah.
And a lot of money and resources wasted. So I became cynical about that. I'm like, I want to have an impact. And I heard about startups, and I was hooked, because the private sector, if you can figure out a way to have an impact and make money, It's brilliant. You can move as
Yep.
fast as you like. You can bend the rules a little bit to get there. And I just loved it. So I'm a big believer in the private sector being a force for change.
You and me both. That's why you're here on this show, right? Because the private sector is proving exactly, how strongly it can shift the dial and achieve impact. And, when you line it up with something like the UN Global Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, and you get business being a big part of that, then, we actually have a chance to create some real meaningful change. What are some of the learnings? I mean, it's really interesting hearing your story, Kyle, and how, impact seems to be the driving force from day one with you. But going through government, through academia, finding your way to where you are now in private industry and startup land. What are some of the learnings that you have had? And I'm sure there have been so many, but are there like any key learnings that you could share that someone else who might be early on this path, that you might be able to help?
I can give some advice to anyone else who wants to do a startup and try and avoid some of the mistakes I made. Don't outsource your tech. Find a technical person to work with. This was a mistake I made for the first startup.
Yeah.
We used an agency to build our app. It's a terrible idea because they don't care. We had something blow up on a Saturday and we couldn't do deliveries till the Monday because they were back at work on Monday and they could fix it.
Oh God.
It's just a terrible idea to outsource tech. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Track your runway. So the first startup, I had never run a business before. I didn't grow up with money, so it's not a strength of mine. I'm much better at it now. I've been doing startups for years, but just obsess over your monthly financials. So that was a big learning because I just didn't grow up with money, didn't know how to do it. But now I'm pretty tight with purse strings. We're in a pretty healthy position now. Look after your mental health. I'm pretty open about this. Like during COVID, Pearlii nearly went under 1 million times, and the stress. I was getting chest pains because we didn't know when we were coming out of lockdown. I had some staff struggling. We didn't know if we were going to raise more capital. The business model I needed to change, and the stress was pretty intense. And I've never experienced anything like that before. But now I'm really conscious about it. And I tell young founders, you've got to manage your stress levels. You've got to take a break. You've got to stay physically active. All that stuff. So that's managing stress has been a huge learning curve. I'm still getting better. I can be a bit of a grump. Working, I've got a lot better.
But you've got strategies now that you actually know, like this is what I do.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I hired a number 2, so Kylie, and she's been a godsend. Her strengths are my weaknesses, and maybe vice versa. And she handles a lot of the day-to-day. She's just very, very organised, extremely happy person, and it allows me to work on other things. And we've got a great combo going. So at the end of last year, Kylie came on board, but I knew that was a weakness of mine, and I couldn't do everything. So I brought in Kylie, and that was a real game changer for us. Things just run a lot smoother now. She's happier. Everyone's happier.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
That's great. I think that's fantastic, and that's gold. I've been meaning to ask you, because of your business model, does that make you a social enterprise?
Yeah, we're for-profit social enterprise. Absolutely.
For-profit. Yeah. Okay. And that's because of the 50%, or that's also the prevention model?
We'll be going. We're not paying dividends to any of our investors. They'll never get any dividends. I'm going to put that back. I'll put that back into the market and R&D. So 50% of the profits will go back into that.
Yeah.
But the other 50% is to the Pearlii Foundation.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. 5 years. Where are we now? 2028, let's say, where do you hope Pearlii will be?
I'd love a fleet of dental trucks.
Yep.
I'd love to have them in other countries as well. I would love our tech to be being used by non-dental practitioners. I'd love to have it listed on the MBS. So it's subsidized by the government, so people are actually looking at oral health. I love a happy team, bigger team. That's probably enough. I think we will get there. Yeah, that'd be great.
That's
lots of good stories, like the gums I was just telling about for people that haven't looked in their mouth. No one looks in their mouth. When was the last time you looked in your mouth? Actually checked for problems.
Yeah, no, but I have got a visit to the dentist booked next week.
Oh, lucky. Yeah, okay, good.
But God, I mean, I was thinking, apart from, the many underserved communities who don't have access to dental health, there would be a lot of people who normally do have access to dental health because of COVID, who are not going out of fear, particularly older people. So,
yeah, aged care is something actually I'd love to get into aged care using our tech and training the nurses and GPs that work there to check for oral diseases. With the Royal Commission in 2020, it was flagged as one of the top 3 issues, which is incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, lack of dental services, because it leads to heart problems, dementia. Your oral health is really important as you get older.
Do you know, it just seems to be the source of everything, right? Even, apart from the physical problems you've talked about. I think you mentioned earlier in the program how when you've got bad teeth, it inhibits you from smiling.
Yeah,
And,
you don't smile as much.
And when you don't smile as much, I mean, we all know how even just forcing a pretend smile can help change your mental outlook on things. So mental health, it's not just physical health, it's mental health as well. So everything leads back, everything starts from the mouth.
Great. I'm glad you're on board.
I'm totally on board with it. It's amazing. And it just really reinforces that what you're doing is going to have so much impact. So I encourage anyone who's listening to this podcast who thinks they might be able to contribute in some way, whether it's as a customer.
Buy a toothbrush.
Yeah, buy a toothbrush, buy a whitening kit. But also as a partner, like there are a lot of business leaders who listen to this podcast, and I think potentially, who knows, collaboration, partnership, but everything starts from the mouth.
Yeah, and we do get a lot of businesses. We get loads of dentists from all over the world emailing support@pearlii.com, just going, hey, what is this? And then we just add them to the spreadsheet about potential volunteer down the
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love it. Okay. What are you most proud of when it comes to the business on your journey so far?
A team. They put up with me being a grump, but they are so talented. We did the Myers-Briggs test at the start of this year. That was Kylie's doing, just to see the makeup of the team. And all of them, except me, I was like on the opposite side, the entrepreneur wheel, the extrovert. All of them were the caring. They're in the same little box. So they're very caring. They've all bought into the mission. They're extremely talented. But, they're not money driven. I don't know how I ended up with that team. It's been crazy, but yeah, very, very.
I think it might have something to do with what you're trying to achieve.
But they do put up with me being a grump, so I've got to thank them for that.
Well, there you go. And perhaps they love what you're trying to do with Pearlii.
Yeah, they do. They're all really bought into the mission. They love it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's that L word again. So I'm going to wrap up.
Well played.
With a final question. This interview we're doing in 2022. We're almost 8 years off the target date for the UN Global Goals of 2030. Businesses, I think, are now really aware that they need to be part of the solution. But a lot of them are still very unsure about just how far they lean into social purpose. You know, is it akin to their CSR, or is it something they really need to start looking at how they can use their business to create meaningful impact? So if you could share one thing to convince one business leader of how vital social purpose is to business, what would it be?
Brilliant idea, because you'll improve employee retention, you'll attract the best talent if you can have a clear North Star. As I was just talking about my team, they're here because they really believe in the mission. We're not, a big organization. They could probably all earn a lot more money elsewhere. Hopefully down the track, they get rewarded as we grow. That's one of my dreams. But you'll just get much better buy-in from your staff, and you'll see your sales improve if you can communicate your mission, which is not easy, to have a really clear North Star. So that's the challenge, but if you do, you'll be rewarded for it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kyle. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, that's enough. That's enough.
That's enough.
I've loved my time on this podcast. So.
Well, I was gonna hit it back at you and say, I don't know where you stand on the love scale, but I love your work. I absolutely love what you are on track and trying to achieve, and all credit to you. And I wish you all the very best. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Caroline. It is good to come on shows like this to actually reflect and like, oh my gosh, we have made a lot of progress. So thank you for having me on your show, and what a wonderful podcast. I love that it exists, so please keep doing it.
Thank you. Cheers, Kyle.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the For Love and Money podcast. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into the purpose movement, visit us at thecauseeffect.com.au. And remember, doing good is good for business. So if you're not doing good, then what are you doing?